Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone smiling at you, and in that fleeting moment, felt that something wasn't real? We are living in an age where appearances can be delicately packaged. Words can be programmed to sound kind, and kindness itself may simply be a mask for some hidden agenda. The sad truth is that the more eloquent people become, the harder it is to tell who's truly being genuine. But did you know? Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And in the realm of human relationships, to truly see someone, you don't need to be a psychologist. You just need to be a deep enough observer, and to live truthfully enough yourself. Because the smallest things, like how someone treats those who have nothing to offer, or whether they keep even the smallest promises, are the most honest mirrors of who they really are. This article is not here to make you suspicious of everyone. It is here to help you live more awake, to observe every behavior, to listen to every silence, and to realize character is not defined by what people say about themselves, but by how they act when they think no one is watching. 1. How a person treats those who can offer them nothing is the clearest mirror of their true nature. We live in a world where people are encouraged to present the best version of themselves, especially when it might bring them rewards. In important conversations, impressive meetings, or mutually beneficial relationships, people often behave impeccably, courteous, charming, and even overly enthusiastic, but that is rarely a portrait of their true essence. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, but that kind of true contact only happens when people take off their social masks. And that rarely occurs in relationships built on exchange or gain. So, if you want to understand someone's character, watch how they treat those who have nothing to offer them. The waiter, the janitor, the security guard, or a stranger in need on the street. These people hold no power to reciprocate, cannot raise their social standing, and have no usefulness in the eyes of the world. And it is in these moments, when no benefit is expected, that truth quietly reveals itself. Imagine this. A man in a sleek suit speaks politely with clients, radiates charm in meetings, and leaves a dazzling impression. But outside the boardroom, he snaps at a young employee over a poorly made coffee, ignores the receptionist's greeting, and walks past an elderly person on the sidewalk without a glance. That is not a good man. That is a man skilled at managing his image. Now contrast that with someone who feels no need to impress. They bow slightly to thank a server, gently ask how an elderly person is doing, and step aside to let others pass. Naturally, without display, and without waiting for applause. For them, kindness isn't a social skill. It is a reflection of their inner integrity. Social psychology refers to this as the moral index of non-reciprocal situations, a way to measure character through actions taken where there is no reward. When people are under no obligation, not trying to gain approval, and not being watched, their behavior becomes its most authentic. And that's when you truly see the soul behind the mask. In daily life, you can apply this insight in subtle yet powerful ways. When entering a relationship, romantic or professional, don't just look at how someone treats you. Observe how they act around those they don't need to impress. It could be the street vendor, the delivery driver, or the person with no social clout in your group. If you see consistent respect, if their eyes still carry empathy, that's a sign of authenticity. But if someone is always kind to those above, and dismissive of those below, then you already have your answer. Because a mature soul never uses another person's status as a measuring stick for their own behavior. A small piece of advice from those who work in therapy and psychology. Let silence be your magnifying glass. Observe quietly, and you'll see the subtle movements of someone's inner world. The flick of an eye, the tone when things aren't going their way, their response when someone makes a mistake. You don't have to be a psychologist, just a person who listens with the heart. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Those who are sincere don't need to speak much, nor do they seek to prove themselves. Their actions say everything. In a world growing ever noisier, learning to hear the silence through everyday behaviors is the path to connecting with the most genuine part of others. And always remember, how someone treats a person who has nothing to offer in return is the most honest self-introduction they'll ever give. 2. Keeping promises, the true measure of character. In a world full of words easily spoken, and just as easily forgotten, keeping promises has become a rare act, yet one that carries the silent weight of a sacred vow. While kindness can be performed with temporary gestures, Honesty in one's words is a lasting expression of character. Have you ever noticed? When someone says, "I'll call you back," and disappears. When they promise, "I'll be on time," but are always late. When they once said, "You can trust me," yet left you suspended in a void of doubt. These small things may seem harmless, but they are tiny cracks in the wall of trust. A lie would make no sense unless the truth was felt to be dangerous. In other words, a lie is born the moment someone lacks the courage to live truthfully. And the failure to keep a promise, even a small one, is a subtle refusal to face one's own integrity. In behavioral psychology, there's a concept called self-consistency theory. It explains how people are driven to maintain a coherent self-image through their actions. A person who regularly keeps their promises not only builds trust with others, they reinforce trust within themselves. Because keeping your word isn't about pleasing others. It's about not becoming someone unworthy of trust. In your own eyes, those who keep their promises understand that every word we speak plants a seed of energy. When you say, "I'll do this," you awaken a subtle contract with life, small, yet powerful. And when you break that promise, you're quietly draining your own credibility, one drop at a time. Imagine a friend who once promised to stand by you during hard times. But when hardship truly arrived, they forgot that promise. How would you feel? The pain may not lie in the lack of help, but in realizing that what they once said wasn't real. That's why in any relationship, be it friendship, love, or work, a promise is the red thread that holds the connection in place. A psychotherapist once shared, "No one expects you to be perfect. But if you can't keep a promise, at least have the courage to be honest about it." Indeed, failing to keep your word is something to reflect on. But refusing to admit it? That's a sign of emotional immaturity. Keeping promises is not just a behavior. It's a culture. It's a way of living, chosen by those who are emotionally mature and capable of taking responsibility for the impact they have on others. A person with inner strength isn't someone who never breaks a promise, but someone who returns to make it right. Who can say, "I'm sorry I didn't follow through. Let me make it up to you," with action. And you know what? In difficult times, promises become the truest test of sincerity. Anyone can make a promise when life is easy, but only those who live authentically will keep it when the storm hits. Here's a small tip for you. If you want to evaluate someone's character, don't just listen to what they say. Observe, quietly. Do they do what they say they'll do? Do they show up on time as promised? Do they keep confidence as they vowed to? Do they follow through without needing to be reminded? If the answer is yes, you're in the presence of someone trustworthy. But if the answer is often no, then be careful. A person who easily breaks their word to you will just as easily betray the trust you placed in them. You meet your destiny on the road you take to avoid it. And in relationships, even small lies are the path that takes you further from the kind of deep connection your soul truly craves. Keeping your word may seem like a small act, but it is a quiet declaration. I respect you, and I respect myself. 3. Observing behavior. Understanding the soul of the person in front of you. In a world where words can be polished, edited, and repeated like a rehearsed melody, behavior remains the one thing that cannot be faked. When someone isn't ready to speak the truth, their body speaks for them. When the mind hides something, the eyes, the tone of voice, and the responses to others reveal it all. The language of the soul is not speech, it is symbol and behavior. If you truly want to understand someone, don't just listen to what they say, observe how they live. The smallest behaviors, how they react to a stranger, how they deal with delays, how they treat those who can offer them nothing, are the open windows into their inner world. A person may say they're humble, but if they treat a waiter with disdain, the words mean nothing. Some may call themselves kind, but if they pass an elderly person in need without a second glance, their goodness is just a mask. Habits, reflexes, and attitude in the unnoticed moments. That's where the soul reveals itself most clearly. Psychology calls this the moment of default. The moment when a person reverts to their natural state, unguarded. In that moment, the ego stops performing, and unconscious behavior takes over. The incredible truth is, these moments reveal a person's essence more than any curated performance ever could. Take this example. If someone is tired, in a rush, and gains nothing from being kind, yet still chooses to act ethically, that's a reliable sign. On the other hand, if someone is only kind when being watched, or when it serves their interest, then that behavior doesn't reflect character, it reflects strategy. Watch a person when they don't know they're being watched, when they think no one is looking, Do they clean up after themselves in public spaces? Do they thank someone for holding the door? Do they help someone else when there is no reward? It is in these anonymous acts that you will glimpse their true soul. Show me how you act when you're not seen, and I will tell you who you really are. And this could not be more true. Behavior, not titles, not self-proclamations, is the living proof of who we are. There's a concept in Eastern philosophy called virtue in anonymity. The idea of doing good even when no one sees, even when no one gives you credit. Those who practice this have attained a rare serenity of spirit, because they no longer need external reward to do what is right. Their inner world and outer actions have become one. And here's something even more profound. When you learn to see others through their behavior, you also learn how to turn inward and see yourself. What do your actions say about you? How do you respond to the powerless? Is your kindness rooted in who you are, or how you want to be perceived? Try this simple exercise. On an ordinary day, record 3 moments when you chose compassion or courtesy. Reflect. Did these actions arise from genuine awareness, or from social habit? Then do the same with someone close to you, not through what they say, but how they live. Are they consistent? Do they quietly do the right thing even when no one's applauding? Behavioral observation is the sharpest tool for understanding human nature, and the shortest path back to your true self. Because when you learn to read someone from their smallest actions, you stop being misled by polished words. You touch their soul. And often, you'll find that quiet kindness echoes far louder than any grand declaration. Living truthfully through behavior is the most powerful form of inspiration, even without words. Your presence, consistent, kind, and sincere, becomes a light that makes others question the mask they wear. And maybe, just maybe, choose to live more honestly. We are not born to doubt everything. But neither are we born to be so naive as to believe in everything. As you walk the path of inner growth, you'll come to realize something essential. Those who are truly kind never feel the need to prove it. They don't flaunt titles, nor do they dress their words in excessive beauty. They leave an impression through consistency in action, whether in how they treat the vulnerable, or how they keep a promise under difficult circumstances. Carl Jung once said, "Everyone you meet is a reflection of some part of yourself." So when you begin to observe others with subtlety and care, you are also, in truth, learning to see yourself. Are you keeping promises to your own soul? Are you treating strangers with quiet respect? Start with the smallest things. A gaze is free of judgment. A promise kept, even when inconvenient. A kind gesture done without seeking praise. These are the building blocks of resilient character. Not to win admiration, but to live as someone who needs no mask. And if someone out there is watching you, with the same silent discernment you use to observe others, let them see someone who lives authentically. Simple yet trustworthy. Humble yet profound. Kind, but with boundaries.